My friends, we are living in a world that is filled with trials, hardships, and moments of deep desperation. There are times when we feel as though the weight of the world is pressing down on us and we do not know where to turn. The storms of life rage, the winds howl, and our hearts tremble in fear. In these moments of desperation that we cry out, searching for something greater than ourselves, searching for divine assistance, the human heart was created with a deep longing for something beyond what this world can offer. No amount of wealth, power, or human wisdom can truly satisfy the soul that is in distress when sickness strikes, when relationships crumble, when the future seems uncertain, and when fear grips our hearts. Where do we go? Who do we turn to, my friends? The answer is not found in human strength, nor is it found in the philosophies of this world. The answer is found in the one who created you, the one who knows your every struggle, the one who is ever present in your time of need. All throughout history, men and women have faced trials that seemed insurmountable. There have been times when nations have been on the brink of destruction, when families have been torn apart. Individuals have been weighed down by the guilt of their own failures. And yet, time and time again, we have seen that those who turn to God in their desperation find a strength that is not their own. They find a peace that surpasses understanding, a hope that carries them through the darkest nights, a power that lifts them beyond their own limitations. You may be walking through a valley right now. You may be facing a battle that no one else knows about. Perhaps your heart is heavy with sorrow, your mind tormented by fear, and your spirit weary from the burdens of life. But I want to tell you today that you are not alone. You are not forgotten. The same God who has been faithful throughout history is the same God who sees you in your moment of need. He is not distant. He is near. He is not indifferent. He cares, and he is not powerless. He is mighty to save, but how do we seek divine assistance in times of desperation? How do we lay hold of the help that we so desperately need, my friends? It begins with a heart that is willing to surrender. The greatest obstacle to receiving help from above is the pride of man. Too often, we try to fight our battles in our own strength. We try to reason our way out of trouble, to manipulate circumstances, to put on a brave face while our souls are crumbling inside. But God does not respond to pride. He does not move on behalf of those who rely on their own wisdom. He moves when a heart humbles itself before him. When a soul cries out in surrender, saying, Lord, I cannot do this on my own. I need you. There was a story of a man who found himself in the depths of despair. He had tried everything the world had to offer, and yet he still felt empty. Broken and alone one night in the quietness of his room, he fell to his knees and cried out with everything in him, God, you are real. If you are there, I need you. And in that moment, something happened. A peace that he had never known before swept over him, a presence that was beyond anything. God had heard him, my friends. When you call upon the name of the Lord with a sincere heart, he will answer. He does not turn away from the cries of his children. He does not leave them in their suffering. He is a refuge for the weary, a stronghold for the brokenhearted, and a deliverer for those in distress. But it requires more than just words. It requires a heart that truly seeks him. Seeking divine assistance is about asking for help in a moment of trouble and then going back to life as usual. It is about drawing near to the one who is our source of strength. It is about cultivating a relationship with him, about walking in his ways, about trusting him, even when we cannot see the outcome. The problem for many of us is that we only seek God when we are in trouble. But as soon as the storm passes, we go back to relying on ourselves. But my friends, God is not just a temporary solution. He is the very foundation upon which our lives should be built. There was a man who built his house upon the sand. When the storm came, the wind and the rain swept it away. But there was another man who built his house upon the rock. And when the storm came, his house stood firm. My friends, when you build your life upon the solid foundation of faith, when you seek divine assistance, not just in times of trouble, but every day, you will find that when the storms of life come, and they will come, you will not be shaken. Perhaps you are saying, I have prayed, I have cried out, but I do not feel God's presence. I do not see him moving in my situation, my friend. Do not be discouraged just because you do not see. An immediate answer does not mean that he is not working. Sometimes God allows us to walk through trials to strengthen our faith. Sometimes he is preparing something far greater than we could ever imagine. And sometimes he is waiting for us to fully trust him before he moves. There was a woman who suffered for many years. She had exhausted every option, spent all that she had, and yet her condition only grew worse. But one day she heard that there was one who could heal her in desperation. She pushed through the crowd, reaching out with everything in her to touch the hem of his garment. And in a moment she was healed. My friends, faith is not just believing that God exists. It is reaching out to him with everything in you, believing that he is able to do what he has promised. God's assistance does not always come in the way we expect. Sometimes he calms the storm. Other times he gives us the strength to walk through it. Sometimes he removes the burden. Other times he gives us the grace to carry it. But in every situation, he is faithful. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you, and he will never turn away a heart that seeks him in truth. So today I ask you, will you seek him, will you? Lay down your burdens at his feet. Will you surrender your fears, your doubts, your pain, and your struggles to the one who holds all things in his hands, my friends? He is waiting, he is listening, and he is ready to move in your life. Call upon him in your time of need, and you will find that he is near than you ever imagined, my friends. There is something that happens when a soul reaches the end of itself, when human effort fails, when wisdom falls short, when every earthly resource is exhausted. There comes a moment of reckoning, a moment when we must decide whether we will continue struggling on our own or whether we will fall to our knees and seek divine assistance. And in that moment, the cry of a desperate heart reaches the throne of heaven in a way that no mere words ever could. All throughout history, God has responded to the cries of his people when Israel was in bondage, groaning under the weight of slavery. God heard their cries and raised up a deliverer when David was pursued by his enemies, hiding in caves, crying out for mercy. God was his refuge and strength. When Jonah in his disobedience found himself in the belly of a great fish, his desperate prayer was heard and God delivered him. Over and over again, we see that when men and women humble themselves and cry out in sincerity, God moves in power. But the question remains, why do we wait until we are desperate? Why do we so often seek God? Only when we have exhausted every other option. My friends, the human heart is naturally self-reliant. We think we can manage on our own, that we can fix our own problems, that we have the answers. And as long as things are going well, as long as life is comfortable, we push God to the margins. We acknowledge him, but we do not truly depend on him. But when the storms come, when life falls apart, when we realize how small and powerless we really are, we suddenly recognize our need for something greater than ourselves, and that is why desperation can be a gift. It is in the moments when we have nowhere else to turn that we finally look up. It is in the moments when our strength is gone that we finally admit we need help. And when we do, we find that God has been there all along waiting for us to reach out to him, waiting for us to surrender. But seeking divine assistance is not just about asking God to fix our problems. It is not just about treating him like a last resort, a backup plan, or a temporary solution. My friend, seeking God means turning to him with our whole hearts. It means recognizing that he is not just a helper in times of trouble. He is the one who gives us breath, the one who sustains us, the one who knows the end from the beginning. When we seek him, not just in our moments of desperation, but in every moment, we will find the strength and a peace that carries us through every trial. There's a passage that says, "Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not." What a promise! God is not distant. He is not silent. He is not indifferent to our struggles. He invites us to call upon him. He longs for us to seek him. Promises to answer. But do we believe it? Do we trust that when we cry out, he hears us? Or do we allow doubt and fear to creep in, whispering that we are alone, that God is not listening, that our prayers are in vain? My friends, faith is the key that unlocks the door to divine assistance. Without faith, we will hesitate. Without faith, we will pray, but not truly believe. Without faith, we will seek answers elsewhere when God does not move on our timeline. But faith is what keeps us anchored in the storm. Faith is what gives us the courage to keep praying even when we do not see immediate results. Faith is what enables us to trust that even when God seems silent, he is still working behind the There was a man who came to Jesus pleading for his child to be healed. He had heard of Jesus' power, but he struggled with doubt, and he cried out, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief, my friends. Even when our faith is weak, even when we wrestle with doubt, we can bring that to God. We can say, Lord, I believe, but I need you to strengthen my faith. And he will. Some of you are facing battles that seem impossible. You have prayed, but the situation has not changed. You have cried out, but the burden remains, and you tempted to give up, to stop praying, to stop believing. But my friends, do not let go of faith. Do not stop seeking. God, his timing is not our timing. His ways are higher than our ways. And sometimes the very delay that we struggle with is the process by which God is preparing something. Could ever imagine there was a man named Joseph who was given a dream? He was shown a vision of his future, but instead of stepping into that promise right away, he was betrayed, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison year after year passed. And it seemed as though the promise never come to pass. But my friends, God had not forgotten him. God was working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail. And at the appointed time, Joseph was lifted from the prison to the palace. God's assistance does not always come in the way we expect. Sometimes he removes the obstacle. Other times, he strengthens us to overcome it. Sometimes he parts the Red Sea. Other times he calls us to walk through the fire, knowing that he will be with us in the midst of it. But in every situation, he is faithful. He is working, and he will never leave us or forsake us. But seeking divine assistance also requires obedience, my friends. We cannot expect God to move in our lives. If we are walking in rebellion, we cannot cry out for his help while refusing to follow his ways. There are many who seek God's hand, but do not seek his heart. They want his blessings, but not his lordship. But God does not bless disobedience. He does not pour out his power or on those who only turn to him when it is convenient. If we truly want to see his hand move in our lives, we must be willing to surrender everything to him. There was a rich young ruler who came to Jesus asking what he must do to inherit eternal life. He had kept the commandments. He had lived a good life. But when Jesus told him to let go of his wealth and follow him, walked away sorrowful, my friends. Sometimes the very thing that is keeping us from receiving divine assistance is our unwillingness to let go of what is holding us back. Are we willing to surrender? Are we willing to lay down our pride, our plans, our desires, and trust that God's ways are better than ours? And there's a story of a man who was drowned in a boat, came by and offered help, but he refused, saying, God will save me. A second boat came, and again he refused. A third boat came, but he still declined, insisting that he was waiting for divine help. Eventually he drowned. When he reached heaven, he asked, Lord, why didn't you save me? And the Lord replied, I sent you 3 boats. My friends, sometimes God's assistance comes in ways we do not expect. Sometimes he answers our prayers through people, through opportunities, through circumstances that we might overlook. And if we are not walking closely with him, we are not listening, we may miss the very answer we have been praying for. So I ask you today, are you ready to seek him? Are you willing to lay everything down at his feet? Are you willing to trust him even when you do not understand? Because, my friends, he is waiting, he is listening, and he is ready to move in your life. But he is looking for hearts that are truly surrendered, for faith that is unwavering, for souls that are willing to seek him with everything they have, my friends. When we seek divine assistance, we are not seeking an abstract force or a distant deity. We are seeking a living, personally, an all-powerful God who knows us by name, who sees every tear we shed, and who cares about the details of our lives. He is not indifferent to our pain. He is not unaware of our struggles. He is the same God who spoke the universe into existence, the same God who parted the Red Sea, the same God raised the dead to life, and if he did it, then he can do it now. Yet so often we hesitate to turn to him. We think our problems are too small for God. We think our sins are too great. We convince ourselves that we must fix our lives before we approach him. But my friends, God does not wait for us to clean ourselves up before he moves in our lives. He does not require us to have all the answers. He simply asks that we come to him as we are, with open hands and surrendered hearts, trusting that he will do what we cannot do on our own. who was a blind man who heard that Jesus was passing by. Not see him, but he cried out, "Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tried to silence him, but he cried out even louder. And in that moment, Jesus stopped the creator of the universe. The King of Kings stopped for one desperate man, and he asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" The man answered, "Lord, that I may receive my sight." And Jesus, moved by his faith, healed him instantly. My friends, God is moved by faith. He is drawn to those who call upon him in desperation. When we humble ourselves, when we cry out in faith, when we refuse to let go until we receive what we need, he hears us. He stops for us, he answers. But how often do we allow the voices of doubt, fear, in the world to silence us? How often do we let our pride keep us from falling to our knees? How often do we try to handle things on our own, refusing to admit that we need help, my friends? It is time to cast aside every excuse, every fear, every doubt, and come before God with a kind of faith that refuses to be silenced. Throughout Scripture, we see that those who received divine assistance were those who sought God with all their hearts. They were not half-hearted in their pursuit. They did not pray one time and then walk away. Frustration, they were persistent, they were relentless, they were desperate, and because of that desperation, received what they asked for. There was a woman who came to Jesus on behalf of her demon-possessed daughter. She pleaded for his help, but at first he did not answer. Many would have given up, many would have walked away in disappointment, but she persisted. She would not leave until she received an answer. And because of her faith, Jesus granted her request. My friends, what would happen if we sought God with that kind of persistence? What if we refused to let go? What if we prayed with a determination that says, "I will not stop seeking until I receive an answer"? God is not unwilling to help us. He is not reluctant to bless us, but he is looking for those who will seek him with everything they have. He is looking for those who are willing to trust him even when the answer does not come right away. He is looking for those who will stand in faith, believing that he is who he says he is and that he will do what he has promised. There was a man named Elijah who prayed for rain after years of drought. He went to the top of the mountain and prayed. But when his servant went to check the sky, there was nothing. He prayed again, still nothing. A third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, still no answer. But Elijah did not stop praying. He kept seeking, kept believing, kept trusting. And on the seventh time, his servant saw a small cloud the size of a man's hand. That small cloud became a mighty storm. And the rain came pouring down, my friends. Some of you are on your first prayer. Some of you are on your third. Some of you are on your third. Some of you are on your sixth. But what if the answer is coming on the seventh? What if your breakthrough is just one more prayer away? Will you give up? Or will you keep seeking when we ask for divine assistance? We must also be willing to accept the answer that God gives. Sometimes his answer is immediate. Sometimes it is delayed, and sometimes it is different from what we expected. But my friends, God's ways are higher than our ways. His plans are greater than our plans. And if he does not give us exactly what we ask for, it is because he has something better. There was a man named Paul who had a thorn in the flesh. He pleaded with God to take it away 3 times. He asked, and 3 times God said no. But instead of removing the thorn, God gave Paul something even greater grace. He said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And Paul, instead of complaining, instead of turning away, declared, "I will boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest upon me." My friends, when we seek divine assistance, we must trust that God knows what is best for us. Sometimes he delivers us from the storm. Other times he gives us the strength to endure it. Sometimes he takes away the pain. Other times he gives us peace in the midst of it. But in every situation, he is faithful. He is working for our good, and he will never abandon those who trust in him. Some of you have been crying, hang out for answers. Some of you have been waiting for a breakthrough. And maybe you have begun to wonder if God hears you. Maybe you have started to doubt whether he will come through, my friends. Let me tell you today, do not give up. Do not stop praying. Do not stop believing. God is working in ways you cannot see. He is moving in ways you do not understand. And at the right time and the right way, he will answer. There was a woman named Hannah who longed for a child. She prayed year after year, but her womb remained barren. She was mocked, she was discouraged, but she did not stop seeking God. She did not stop praying. And one day in the temple, she poured out her soul before the Lord, weeping in desperation, and God heard her in due time. She conceived and gave birth to a son, Samuel, a prophet who would change the course of history. My friends, your answer may not come in your timing, but if you do not give up, it will come in God's perfect timing. And when it does, you will look back and see that his way was better than anything you could have imagined. There is no situation too hopeless. There is no problem too great. There is no heart too broken. If you will seek God with all your heart, if you will trust him completely, if you will not give up, you will see his power in your life. You will see his hand move. You will experience his grace in ways you never thought possible. But the greatest assistance we can receive from God is not just help in our trials. It is not just healing for our bodies or provision for our needs. The greatest gift he offers us is himself, my friends. More than anything we need him, more than an answered prayer, more than a miracle, more than a breakthrough. We need a relationship with the one who made us, the one who loves us, the one who died to set us free. If you seek him, you will find him. If you call upon him, he will answer. If you trust him, he will never let you down. So today, make the decision. Seek him with all your heart. Cry out with everything in you and watch as he moves in your life in ways beyond anything you could ever imagine, my friends. There is no greater moment in a person's life than the moment they realize they cannot make it on their own. The moment they finally stop striving, stop wrestling, stop running, and surrender completely to God, because in that moment something miraculous happens. God steps in. The burden that once seemed unbearable is lifted. The fear that once paralyzed is replaced with peace. The uncertainty that once tormented is drowned out by the still small voice of the Almighty saying, I am with you. Some of you have been fighting battles in your own strength. You have tried every solution, sought every answer, knocked on every door, and still you find yourself weary, broken, and exhausted. But my friends, hear me today. God never intended for you to carry this weight alone. He never meant for you to fight in your own power. He is waiting for you to fight in your own power. He is waiting for you to lay it down at his feet, to release every worry, every struggle, every fear, and trust that he will do what. My friends, there comes a time when we must stop trying to fight our battles alone and fully surrender to the one who holds all power, all wisdom, and all authority. Seeking divine assistance is not just about asking for help in times of crisis. It is about living in a posture of trust, dependence, and unwavering faith. God is not far away. He is not indifferent to your struggles. He sees you. He hears you, and he is ready to move on your behalf if you will only call upon him with sincerity and persistence. Do not let doubt rob you of your breakthrough. Do not let fear keep you from seeking the only one who can truly save, restore, and strengthen you. Cry out to him. Seek him with all your heart. And trust in his perfect timing and plan, whether he delivers you from the storm or walks with you through it. His presence is your greatest help. And when you seek him first, you will find that his grace is more than enough, his power is more than sufficient, and his love is the anchor that will hold you firm through every trial.